So it's late 2022, and Taylor Swift announces her surprise album, Midnights. Literally right after, I'm pretty sure it was the day after the music video for Antihero came out. Or maybe I got them flip-flopped. Maybe Antihero came out right after that. I don't remember. The point is, this album made waves when it came out because it was followed up very shortly after with the announcement of the Eras Tour, which was one of the, if not the highest grossing music tour in music history. Upon listening to that album, I personally resonated with the song in particular, and I consider this song to be a standout, and that is Midnight Rain.
You wanted it comfortable, I wanted that pain. All of me changed like me.
It wasn't just me. A lot of people gravitated to this song. I believe it's a favorite. It was even included on the Midnight's Eras set list on the Eras Tour, and I believe it kind of holds a little bit of a soft spot and acts as kind of an interesting sort of middle section between both halves of the Midnight's experience on the standard album. When it comes to the melody and sort of harmonic makeup of the song, this is kind of one of the main factors as to why I personally feel like Midnight Rain works and why it is very pleasant to listen to. It's in the key of C major. C major is one of the, if not the most used key signature for music. You might have also heard of songs that are in A minor. A minor and C major, they're the same thing. The song also has a chord progression of 4, 1, 5, and minor 6. The reason why this is important to note is because this chord progression is a variation of the most common pop chord progression. The reason why this song doesn't sound like most pop songs is because it's the rarest variation of the pop or 4-chord progression. This is a chord progression that sort of gives a sort of cold and icy sort of quality to it, or just like a very reserved, held back color. The way that the chords sort of resolve before going into the next chord feels a little like it's got just a little bit of tension or just a bit of sadness to it. Because it's in a major key, it has some sort of uplifting qualities, which is a stark contrast to the song's lyrical depiction of heartbreak. Subjectively, if you ask a lot of musicians and music theorists, they might say that the happiest key in the entire key signature spectrum is C major, which makes this even more of a contrast, especially having the song not even start on the main chord of C major. It starts on the 4th, which is F major. The song does include 2 notable melodic hooks, the first being the main chorus line, which is being performed through what's called a formant filter.
You wanted it comfortable, I wanted that.
A formant filter is kind of like autotune. It actually is a sort of bonus feature, I guess you could say, of the autotune plugin if you own it or if you use it for making music. But essentially what formant does is it maintains the pitch of what the singer is singing while reducing its pitch formants. And what pitch formants are is they're little tiny micro pitches that sort of make up your vocal's timbre. So it can almost make you sound like a completely different singer. It kind of, if you raise it, it kind of adds a lot of tension and a lot of more nasal qualities to the voice. And if you deepen it, like how it's used in this song, it can kind of add a bit more open throat or a bit more of like a soulful vibe to the vocal performance. The other melodic hook in this song is, it can be heard kind of in the verses or in like the sort of like pre-chorus sections, and it's played by a little synth line that sounds like this. I believe these melodic hooks being so spread out throughout the song kind of makes it so that whenever they happen, it feels special. The song was produced by Taylor Swift herself, as well as Jack Antonoff. They used a lot of notable and iconic synths while making the song, and I'll pop that list up right here on the left. Essentially what they were going for, in my opinion, was a bit of what I like to call lo-fi pop with synth pop elements. What I mean by lo-fi pop is it's a pop song that has elements of lo-fi, which is an abbreviation of the term low fidelity. And you might know this sort of subgenre, or you might sort of recognize it from things like lo-fi hip hop or lo-fi beats to study to, lo-fi beats to relax to. It's kind of become common music language at this point. If you ask someone what they listen to, they might say, oh, I just jam a bunch of lo-fi beats while I read or while I study. It's very common nowadays. However, lo-fi used to be a bit not that familiar with a lot of people. And it used to be kind of this subgenre where if you knew about it, you knew about it, but it wasn't as mainstream until the pandemic. Rhythmically, the song sits at about 140 beats per minute, which as a music producer and as someone with an EDM background, I like to associate that tempo with genres like dubstep, or most notably and more effectively with explaining how this song works, it sounds like chill step tempo. What's great about this tempo and about making beats in this tempo is you can make them sort of fast with their dynamics. You can make a lot of the high ranges a bit more creative and doing things that don't really slow down the track too much. If anything, they kind of help optimize if you're making a slower beat. Whereas the kicks and the snares kind of take a back seat and play a bit of a slow and moody thing, almost sounding like they're being played in halftime, but they're not. It's also a tempo that allows for a lot of club-friendly aspects, like it can be played in a dance setting or a dance environment since it's more up-tempo just as a whole. But with the way that this song is composed, it feels a bit more laid back and withdrawn. As for why this song resonates with a lot of people despite it just being an album track and not a single, I would say that this album, the album that it's on, Midnights, came out at a time where we were sort of leaving the COVID-19 era of music. And what I mean by that is this was a time where there was a lot of uncertainty in the music industry. Not a lot of people were touring, a lot of people were hesitant to even release music, and a lot of music that came out at that time felt very sort of cold, introspective. People had a lot on their minds, they had a lot they were going through, and I feel like we were slowly leaving that era. We were starting to experience more shows again, artists were starting to come back to touring, albums were starting to get released again. Things felt like they were transitioning to more of a normal state when it came to the music industry. And I personally feel like when I listen to this song, we have a couple of things going on. We have sort of the cold, more reserved parts of the song, just instrumentally from a vibe standpoint, that sort of feel like just that introspective. You got your headphones on, it's more of a slow, relaxed beat. It's got a lot of lo-fi elements or even deep house elements if that's more your jam. And then also we have these bright synths that sort of come out of nowhere. And what that sort of screams to me is that transition point, going back into sort of the showmanship of the end of 2022 and early 2023, when it started to become a little more acceptable to sort of go outside and, you know, go to shows and go to like experience nightlife. That's the vibe that it at least gives me. And I think that sort of abstract concept of what's going on in this song can kind of be felt through the music. The song also has a lot of elements of hip hop and R&B, which are two genres that have been very popular in the broad spectrum of American music history. But most notably, I think a lot of sort of darker pop, darker R&B was really popular and prevalent around that time. Having one of the biggest artists on the planet sort of do something in that style, or leaning into stylistic elements of those genres and of those substyles, I think really struck a chord with some of Taylor's fans and people who weren't fans, at least not yet. To sort of sum up what I'm getting at, I would say a lot of the sort of low-key production and songwriting elements of this song, coupled with some of the more dynamic shifts in choosing darker, more doled out sounds over brighter sounds that sort of have their own little pockets that come in and out here and there, mixed with the very rare take on the pop 4-song chord progression. I think all of that coming together with Taylor Swift's sort of vivid imagery in her lyrics sort of paints a picture for all of us, either fans or not. And I think that's why this song, even though it wasn't a promotional single for the album, is one that sticks with fans and other listeners alike. Thank you guys for watching. That was my dissection of Midnight Rain by Taylor Swift. If you guys want to see more of these, feel free to request some. I will let you know if they are songs that I haven't heard yet or not. I also do community posts if you're a subscriber to this channel. Through that, you guys can tell me what you want out of a handful of options. Be on the lookout for more of this and for more raw reactions to first listens, and have a good rest of your day, and thank you for your time.